Hey, how's it going?
Wonderful.
Much
How are
better.
you?
Oh, good, good.
There we go. I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hello. Okay, that's great. Okay, so I was kind of like, I don't know, it was like 12:57 and I went, how does this even start? I don't have a link. Okay, we're here now. It's good. Oh my God.
Are you the coach?
I am the coach.
Cool. Well,
Yeah,
it said that. I just didn't know that if you didn't know. I just wondered if you weren't.
I know. That was kind of the question. I was like, wait a minute. There's a link for this? Am I in charge? Anyway.
I'm gonna turn off my camera and eat lunch. I've been in back-to-back meetings since 9 o'clock. So
Go for it.
I'm also gonna eat my lunch now. That's why mine's off.
Eat away, eat away, eat away. Well, I'm so glad that everybody's here. We're going to get started. We're starting a little bit late, but so let's get right into it. First of all, my name is Charlotte Pierce. I'm a real estate agent with Keller Williams in New Brunswick. I work out of the St. John office. And I've been a client of Colin's for almost 3 years, like just when, like in the first 6 months, he kind of arrived on the scene. And for me personally, I was like, yep, I need a coach. I've always needed a coach. I like coaches. When you're in this business, you're kind of by yourself. So you're asking friends and you're asking your colleagues for help. But really at the end of the day, it's your responsibility, right? Like you need to figure this stuff out for yourself. You got to put the work in. And so I was just like, I really need this accountability in my life. And so Colin's been a great fit for me. So I'm a big fan of kind of, continual learning, as you guys are as well. I can see everybody likes to learn and get better. And I find that in this business, sharing what we know, what we're learning with each other makes it so much better, just all around. So sharing is caring, as they say in the world of daycare and school and all that kind of stuff. So today we are talking about pricing to sell with your CMA. And the session on Monday with Colin, I thought was awesome. And I think everybody got a lot of value out of that session. And I did as well. And I went back and watched the video afterwards because I had to participate in the MBREA AGM training at the same time. And I was like, oh, I'd rather listen to Colin. So anyway, it was great that I had the recording and I went back through. You can watch any of the recordings from all of these sessions on the YouTube link that's in the drive, the Real Consulting Drive, like all that stuff is all there. So this was really timely for me, this whole listing presentation and pricing, because I went on a listing presentation last night and they're going to let me know whether or not I got it in a couple of weeks, but everybody's kind of like, that's the aim, right? To get the listing and to get in front of people, get those appointments, and hopefully convert those appointments into real estate activity for yourself. So to get started, let's talk about session 4. So there was your mission from session 4, or at the end of it, your action plan were the things that you were supposed to kind of complete from session 4. So activities from that day would have been practicing your listing presentation, practicing objections from sellers, and just practicing other scripts. Now, I know that's really overwhelming to say, like, did you do your listing presentation and have you practiced it in the last 2 days? Obviously, probably not. But just looking for scripts and practicing those is going to make you better. 100%. It's going to make you better. And if you want to practice by yourself while you're driving in your car, or if you want to have a partner that you partner up with and you say, every few days, we're going to take 20 minutes and we're going to practice a couple of scripts, then it's time well spent. It's time well spent. So getting started here for mission 5. So these are the activities that we're going to be working on today and talking about the CMA and how to price a home and the importance of doing that properly. I went through it and I did the activities this morning because I thought, well, I can't teach it if I'm not doing it. So I did it. So completing your 10-4 daily. And I want to show you a link that I found because I kept thinking about this, my tracker. So I'm going to share my screen and I want to show you, where did it go? Let's see here. Hold on one sec. Close out of this. I want to show my tracker. Maybe I'll open it in a new window. Sorry, bear with me for 1 second. Is this it? Oh my gosh. Not doing very well here, Colin.
You're doing great.
I'm looking for my thing here. Okay.
Anybody got a funny joke you can share?
Well, Charlotte finds her stuff.
What do
Okay.
What do you call a sleepwalking nun?
What?
A Roman Catholic.
Good one.
He's here all day, folks. He's here all
Try the veal. Okay.
You take
So
I'm reading.
if you go on to mykw.kw.com, it's the old MyKW where the old Edge was. Everybody, it's the same password as logging into Command. Has anyone ever been on that KW site? No? That's where you can find your selling reports. That's where you find, it's the old Command. That's where some of the marketing stuff was there. But anyway, if you type in the search bar, my tracker, you can track the activities for Ignite. So these are the things that you need to be tracking. Can everyone see this? Everyone can see it? So today, Wednesday, these are my activities. So I said, add 10 to my database. So I've added 2. Make 10 connections. I think I have more than 10 connections. So I'll give myself 1 more. I've written 4 notes. I've got them right here. And I've previewed 10 homes. I've previewed 1. Now, this is a little trickier right now because we're not in a whole lot of houses. We might be showing houses. So I think that perhaps doing some really thorough matrix searching and previewing the homes on matrix and, really getting a good sense of what the house is like, whether it's watching a video tour or any of that kind of stuff, that might count as previewing homes. And I have a showing tonight. So that's definitely 1 in person that I'm going to see. But when you go back to the dashboard, you can check the things that you've done. The whole goal is to get all 4 columns to your green line. So if you are a visual person and you need something like this open for your own purposes to track the things that you're doing, then keep it open. And keep it open as a tab on your desktop all day long. And then, as you send a text, write a note card, make a phone call, just track it. And it's a great way to see what you've been up to. Yes, Jen.
That's fantastic because I love that because you set goals for yourself and if you don't make them, So I guess my question would be, because I'm new, Command, I'm going to really focus on that. Do we have activity tracking Command?
You sure do.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Great.
And let me see if I can share.
And if you can show me, great. If not, I can totally check that out another time just to kind of keep on track, but that's awesome.
So I'll show you so here's my Command. So, I haven't done a very good job of tracking anything other than my deals through opportunities. But you can
Could you start the way that you were in before with my K, because I've never seen that before. Thank you.
Well, you certainly could. I don't know if the 2 systems talk to each other. It would be nice if they did. But it's the great thing through opportunities is that you're going to track your listing opportunities, buying opportunities. So if you're in here in active, there it was, appointments. If you're tracking your appointments and your goal is, to have, say, 10 appointments a month, whether it's showing a house or having a listing appointment or whatever, if you can track those through, this is where you would do that, through here. So
Perfect. That's great.
Yep. But in terms of just getting your lead gen done, that daily 10-4, this, let me stop sharing this one. The,
My tracker.
My tracker.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't it? Oh, gracious. Get it together, McGill. Get it together. Okay. This one here. This is just great just to have open on your desktop. I found it really helpful, and it's easy to do. You can enter your milestones, and then there's your reports as well.
Could you just log out and log in so I see how you got there? Because I can't see it online.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Sorry.
No trouble. So my KW. So this is the old
Oh, that's a
KW
homepage.
intranet. And so it's your old profile. And this is where we used to go before Command came along. Anyway, I couldn't figure out where to get to, so I just searched my tracker.
Oh.
Yeah. It's thinking about it. Came up with a couple of options. I clicked the first one. All of a sudden I'm like, oh, look at that. It's a little tracker.
So all I see is 411 productivity. I don't see that at all.
You don't see my tracker?
Nope. Nope, that didn't come up at all for me. It's because I'm new.
What? Did you put a space between my tracker? No.
Uh-huh.
No, take the space out. Maybe that
No
might,
space? Okay.
no space. It's called Track Your Ignite Daily 10-4 Progress and Results.
You're right. That's exactly what I needed to do.
Yeah.
I found it. Thank you.
Yep. So there we are. Yeah. So that's just a quick thing that I found, and I think that that you guys should keep this open during the next couple of weeks as we do this, because it's just great to keep yourself accountable. And at the end of the day, that's really what we're doing here. We're being accountable to ourselves. All right. So stop sharing that, and I'll start sharing the session.
Now, do you use the scorecard where you're being coached by Colin too, to use the scorecard as well?
As part of Colin's, relationship there? Yes, I do. And on my scorecard, I have different things that we've set as goals for me. So one of the things at the top of my list was, and shame on me, was I never went and asked for the testimonial. I was kind of, I felt like awkward asking. I didn't want to be in people's faces after I sold them a house. And then, a month went by, and then 6 months went by. And then I was like, oh my God, I can't call them now. Like, I just look desperate. and then I said, well, I need those testimonials. That's important to me. It's important to show that I'm growing as a realtor and that people like working with me. So I have to go do this. And so I started with my most current deals, started reaching out to them, made myself a goal to get 2 a month. And because I thought that was a pretty easy thing to do. And I did that. And of course, those 2 came just like that, right? People didn't mind doing it at all. And I said, well, now I got to do more. So that was one of my goals along Colin's tracker. And so that was great. That was great. I have to find, would you guys like to see the slideshow? Do you like to follow along with slides?
Charlotte, how did they send you the testimonials? Just in an email, and then you?
Well, I've had people send me testimonials by email, but I had also gone through the steps to set up a Google business page. And I asked people to do reviews there.
Okay. So I've got a business Facebook page. They could do it there.
Well, the reason I went through Google was if you want to kind of scale your business as time goes on and get a little bigger and be a little more sophisticated with your marketing dollars, it's great to have a Google business page. And then you can use that information through your Google business page to promote yourself through Facebook, through Instagram, through some of your newsletters or whatever. But having it on your Google page really helps, especially with your search engine optimization. So if someone's looking for a realtor in the Fredericton area and you've got some really great reviews and you live in Fredericton, well, chances are your name's going to start popping up. So the more you have, the better you are equipped to kind of show up on people's searches. So that's why I took the steps to do that. It's free. You just have to take the time to do it. Yep. Okay. So getting your head in the game around pricing. Is anyone feeling as though pricing is just kind of one of those things that's no longer our responsibility? We just throw a number out there and see what happens. At this point, it's a little crazy. Well, it's true. It is a little crazy when it comes to pricing right now, but it's really important at the end of the day to know exactly or pretty close to what you think your client's house is going to sell for. And it's important for a variety of reasons, same as it was 6 months ago, a year ago. If you price something too high, chances are it's not going to sell. And in this market, there's no reason for a house not to sell, really. Everything is selling. And so the question becomes, how do we price a house? So some of the things that I did for my own personal research last night to prepare for, what was going on and what I was going to tell them about a price was, I learned I'm not there to tell them the price of the house. I'm there to tell them or to say, we are going to pick a range. I'm going to provide you with the data and real-time information. And then we together are going to come up with the price that your house should be listed at. You can't pick the price. I can't pick the price. The market's going to determine the value of your house. And the best way to do that is to use comparable properties. The issue right now is that things are selling so fast. Conditions are firming up so quickly. We don't know what those numbers are around us. So we have to stay in touch with those realtors and say, like, how are you making out? Do you have a firm sale on this property? Especially if you're doing a market analysis for another listing. And you have to have a great relationship with those realtors to say, like, how are you making out with that deal? So the house that I went to last night, it's a popular neighborhood. So I knew that, it's probably going to sell well, but we really want to attract as many buyers to it as possible, right? So you want it to be in that sweet spot. So I said to the agent who had listed a house just a few doors down and about 3 or 4 days ago, I said, how are you doing? How are things going? She said, bully offer, aggressively overprice. And we accepted it and didn't allow it to go to multiples. So immediately I was like, that's great real-time information that I can present to hopefully the people that I list for. And, that was good, relevant information that I only got not from Matrix, but by having those great relationships with other realtors and having those conversations to say, listen, I know you just put this up. It's not pending sold yet, but how are you making out? And, so that was great information. It made my potential sellers feel really good about where we're going to price their house. So how the markets work, the market dynamics, we operate on the law of supply and demand, just like any other business market. And car business, shoe business, designer purse business, whatever it is, if the demand is high and the supply is low, the prices go up. And that's just the simple kind of economics of it all. And the determination of value is figuring out what that sweet spot is and what the market's willing to pay for it, not what your seller wants from the house. And so, overcoming that challenge is going to be hard, but with good amounts of research and feeling confident in your information and what you bring to the table. And then of course, having the right scripts in mind and the way to word these conversations, your sellers are going to feel confident in you. And they're going to know that they're getting a good agent who's on top of the market, has the information, and is willing to take a chance.
Charlotte,
Yes.
back to your like neighborhood market value. Like I had a client that we were looking at a house, and there's one pending sale like around the corner, and she wanted me to honestly tell her what this one should go for. Am I able to ask that other agent, because they do have a pending sale, like what the value is that they got on their offer? Or
so what I normally say is I'll say, you know, I know you just listed this property. I understand that it's a, you know, like you're not going to tell me what you sold it for. Would you mind just giving me a range?
Okay.
And I'll say, you know, I know you had it listed for, let's say 375. Say, you know, did the sale number start with a 4?
Okay, that's what I thought. I said it was going to go in the 3s.
Yeah.
And I'm probably right, but I didn't know if I was allowed to ask that.
Yeah, definitely allowed to ask that. There's ways you can kind of, you know, if you just keep it light and funny and just say like, oh my God, girl, did you get 4 for that? And just kind of, you know, build that rapport with your fellow colleagues. And you have to be willing to share that information too with other people. Like as time goes on, if they're calling you to say, you know, has it sold? Did it sell? Like I have no problem sharing that information. You don't necessarily say exactly what it sold for, but I'm happy to give that information to other realtors, because hopefully down the road, they're going to share some snippets with me too. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I'll just say something like, and I think like you had mentioned, Charlotte, it's about your relationship, like creating those relationships with the other realtors. Like I had a situation yesterday where house just came on yesterday, you know, a good friend of mine and another agency. I just said, listen, like I've got buyers who are it was listed for 269. They can only do 260. Is there any point in me going? And she said, I've already got an offer of over asking. There's no point. So just, you know, it's just about creating those relationships, because she knows I'm not going to be out there, you know, sharing that information with everybody, but it's, you know, her and I have this relationship now that we can do that with one another.
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, when you first get into business, you don't have to necessarily be friends, but make relationships with the other realtors, because at the end of the day, that's going to be better for your business as well.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And I'm going to take a guess that that agent was not a KW agent. No, exactly. So our relationships have to be just as positive and friendly and, you know, full of value and sharing with realtors and other brokerages as within our own family at KW. And because I know if I call Megan up and say, oh my gosh, can I bring a buyer, or is there just no point? I know Megan's going to tell me not to waste my time, right? But you want to have that same, just like you said, you want to have that same relationship. So the other thing that's really important is when you're determining price and you're looking at the data on the market, is you want to look at your active listings, your pending listings, so the ones that are under contract and have that sold sign on, and then of course the solds. And doing research for that presentation last night, I did watch the Ben Kinney listing presentation. I watched a couple other videos of his, and he uses the 5, 5, and 5 tool. 5 actives, 5 pendings, and 5 solds. And I found that's great. Like sometimes you're searching for pendings, it's tough, or you're searching for solds, or you're having a hard time finding a comparable for a house, especially if it's a really unique home. But if you have a house in a subdivision on the west side of St. John that was built in 1987, you're going to be able to find, you know, a good chunk of houses that are just like that. And the more information you can bring to the table, and be prepared to go back more than 180 days or go to 365. I know the market has changed a lot in the last year or even last 500 days. But the more data you have to show those 3 categories, the better they'll feel about where they should price their house. So it's not just you showing up and saying, this is what I think your house is worth. You're showing up and saying, I've done some extensive research. That's part of my job, to be totally aware of everything in your price range or your style of house. And here are 8, 8, and 8, or, you know, here are 5, 5, and 5. And this is great. That's a great way to do it. And when I showed up last night, I had 8 actives, 7 pendings or 9 pendings, and 9 sold. So the more I had, the better, the more it made sense, the price that they finally made their way to. And again, we're not determining the price. It's not a great idea to say, I think this is what you should list it for. You're going to say, here's the data. Let's talk about where you think it needs to be, because we want to be in the market. We want your house to be in the market. We don't want to be outside. We don't want to be priced too high. And there's really no reason for a house to stay on the market any more than 14 days anymore, from the time you list it to the time it's got a sold sign on it.
I love the way that you said that, though, eh? Like, instead of saying, well, this is where I think it should be, just actually present it the way that you just said. I think that's perfect.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Because there are things that we can control when it comes to the selling of properties. We can control the presentation, which is the staging of the house and the condition, like the way it looks, and the marketing that we're going to do. We can control that. That's what we're selling as realtors to these clients. We're selling our ability to promote their home and to make it look as good as possible on the internet, which is exactly where these houses are being sold, on the internet. And we want it to look great. We can control the presentation of the house, and we can control the promotion of the house. We can't control the price. The market controls the price, and we can't control the location, but we can control everything else. So, does anybody have any questions about anything that I've said so far?
No, but I do want to say I love how the tips, your actual experiences being new. I love to hear. I could hear people speak all day about their experiences in real estate from an agent point of view. So thank you, because it's those tips and tricks and experiences that are going to help us get a faster start. So thank you for including those. It means something. It means something to me for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that's great. That's great. Okay, I'm going to see if I can open this in a new window. So I'm going to share my screen, and we'll bring up, so this is the slideshow. I should have had this open from the beginning, but we're going to skip through a couple of these pages so far. Okay. So when you are figuring out and learning how to price homes, your best friend is going to be Matrix. Okay. You're going to spend a lot of time clicking through listings, looking at pictures, looking at videos on the listings, and that's just part of the job. That's just part of getting good at your craft. And of course, getting into those homes, the look and feel of them, the neighborhoods they're in, that's important too. We don't have as many opportunities to do that anymore. But we'll certainly get back there, right? Like we're going to get back there in the next year where we're having some open houses, or we're doing those agent tours or things like that. Like we're going to get back to that someday. But in the meantime, it's your responsibility as a realtor to look at as many properties as you possibly can. And I do encourage you to watch the videos as well, or to do the Matterport, those 3D tours. Do that so you can get a sense of the layout. If a realtor takes the time and expense to have a Matterport tour done on their listing, it's expensive. It's an expensive tool. It's something that they're doing to market the property, but you can watch that, and it can answer all kinds of questions for you. and it can make you think a little bit more about the house. And I urge you, if you have a listing and you'd like to promote it, those Matterport tours are fantastic, as well as a regular video tour of the property. It will help with your buyers who are outside of the province, which of course we all have right now, and encouraging people to get a really good sense of the flow of the house and those kinds of things. That's important. So that's definitely something that as a realtor you need to be good at. You have to also learn, I'm going to share, let's see if I can get to, no, let's get into matrix, because that's one thing that I would like to, there we go. So this is the Fredericton St. John Northern Valley Board matrix. One thing that you really need to get good at is you go to the stats section and you're going to figure out how to run reports for yourself on days on market versus, cost of homes and what they've sold at. These are the tools that you need to perfect in your toolkit so that you can be very, very well versed in what homes cost or what homes sell for versus what they're listed for. So you can educate your sellers.
Charlotte,
yes.
For those of us that are in Nova Scotia, I don't believe we will have this. I believe that we'll be using Paragon. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And
Okay.
did you take the market stats today, Sina?
I looked at a video of market stats before with
I think they're having it again in a couple weeks. Dennis and I were just on it today, and I think it will. I won't say I'm good at this because I just looked at it for the first time today, but I think it will do what she's trying to do here.
Yeah, info sparks.
Yep.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. So it's fantastic. You're going to get really good at this. I'm going to just really quickly going to bring up kind of days on market by list point or cumulative days on market. So in this board, so this, and I could even dial this down a little bit more because I have it set up for Fredericton St. John Northern. So like it's almost the entire province. So if you wanted to dial down to a more localized area, you can do that as well. But it's great to see this information. So in that, and again, it would be some areas of your region would be the days on market are going to be 20 or 15 days. They'll be that much smaller, right? But these are the tools that you need to learn so that you have a really good feel for the current market. So of course, the lower this price point here, this 150 through 400, that's the sweet spot, right? Like that's where most of the sales are happening quickly. And then the more expensive the home, the longer it's on the market. Again, depending on the region, these things will fluctuate for sure. So there's some preset, this is just on this one here, preset reports that you can have a look at. And we're looking at closed price to list price ratio. And right now, January 2021, oh, this is an odd one. Time frame is, oh yeah, I don't like that. We don't like that one. That's no good. Past 5 years, let's say year to date. So April, so 98 to 99% of homes are closing closer to their list price than before, right? Do you see what I mean? So in January, it started at, say it was listed at 100,000 and it sold for 95. And then the closer we get up here to April, that gap is closing. So those are just little things that you can include into your conversation about what your current real estate market looks like. And, these are tools that you should get to know and be really good at navigating. Any questions? No? Okay. So knowing what let me open up the slideshow again. Session 5. Is this it? It's thinking. Can you see that? Yes? Okay. All right. So having a conversation with your seller, you're at the kitchen table and you're talking about pricing. You've done your listing presentation. You've talked about what you bring to the table, what you're like as a person. You've listened to their story. You know their motivation about why they're moving, why they're selling. You've gotten to know them. You now understand how they want to be communicated with, who's going to be the lead. If you have a couple, you want to say, okay, who's my point person here? Who am I going to be, in contact with? And so you're not back and forth and you don't have two people talking to you or whatever. So you have a point person. You've figured all of that stuff out. Then you're going to talk about the presentation, the house itself, and what it looks like inside. And basically, this is a beauty contest, right? We are in, this is a sales pitch. Paul, I know you come from the world of cars. If there's a car on the lot and it's dirty and there's like old Tim Hortons cups and it smells like cigarette smoke and a whole bunch of other nasty things, and then you got a shiny one that's all spruced up with like nice mats on the floor and everything's all armor-all, like which one is someone going to buy?
The one with the new car smell.
The new car smell. Exactly. So that's what we're saying to our sellers. We're saying we're in a beauty contest. We're going to present your home on the internet in the best way possible. It's going to look fantastic, but there's some work that you need to do to make it look great. And if a seller's really interested in selling their home and getting top dollar, they need to know that it needs to look perfect. It really does. And if it doesn't look perfect, then they also need to know that they're going to get less money for their home. And if time is of the essence and they know that they don't have time to replace that old broken tile in their kitchen, and so those things need to be considered. And, if they want to charge $500,000 for their house and it's nasty and it's got broken floors and all that kind of stuff, the market's going to tell them that their house is not worth that amount of money. But if they want to charge $500,000 and everything is perfect and buttoned up and looks exactly like it should, then their house is going to sell for that price, if not higher. And so that's really, really important to make sure that sellers know that. And I watched a video with Gary Keller and a couple top agents, and it's from a 2014. It was either family reunion or mega camp. And Gary asked this agent, what's the number one mistake that agents make when they're talking to sellers about the condition of their home? And this agent said, she said, they don't have the confidence to tell the truth. They don't have the candor or the compassion together to be able to share and properly articulate the message. And so that comes across as either arrogant or perhaps like, really? You really think this house is staged nicely? That arrogance is immediately going to turn people off. And so she said, it comes with practice, it comes with time, and it comes with your ability to deliver a kind and compassionate message to your seller, so that it doesn't come across as offensive to them in any way, shape, or form, but delivers the point that, you know, we are in a beauty contest here, if that's the term she used, a beauty contest. And you want your house to be the most beautiful house on the market. And so it starts from the outside. And, you know, she says she goes through and she works on the outside and the mulch around the gardens. And, you know, are the front steps all scratched? Well, they need to be stained or they need to be painted. Do that, because those are the first things that people see. Last night, these folks are like, our garage doors are all dinged up from hockey pucks and lacrosse balls and all that kind of stuff. We've got the garage doors on order. They're coming, you know, because they know that when those garage doors are down, those are the first couple of things that people are going to see. So these folks understand the importance of making sure they look their very best. And so getting into the inside, you know, going around, having that conversation about what needs to be improved, what looks great so far, but the kinds of things that need to be improved. She said that comes with, you know, being inside homes, having conversations with sellers, and practicing your scripts about how you describe the importance of clean kitchens, clean bathrooms, you know, uncluttered shelving units, like those kinds of things. And so those are the things that you need to practice. Those are the scripts you need to practice to make sure that you are coming across as confident, but you're coming across with compassion. And you're saying, like, this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to sell your product for the most amount of money. And if it looks great, and she has her statistics because she's a mega agent and she sells 1 million houses or whatever. But she says, if a home is staged beautifully and properly, it will get 3 to 5% above the listing price. And it will sell 53% faster than other homes. And, you know, she's got the data to do that. And you can use that information. She lives in Tennessee, which is nowhere near us. But those numbers make sense to me. And when I, you know, the houses I've been inside of, I was in a house yesterday afternoon, staged impeccably, and it was listed for $215. Sweet little house, just sweet, and everything looked perfect. Outside was perfect, inside was perfect. You know, it ended up not being. They needed another bathroom. We couldn't make that work, so it's not going to be the right house for my buyers. But that house sold last year for $160,000. They've done some nice improvements. The house really is like a 199 house, but it's listed for $215. It'll sell for more than $215, and it'll sell for more because it's staged perfectly. And so that's just a great real life example that you can give your sellers, potential sellers. You're going to say, like, these are the things, this is exactly what's going on right now. So staging does work. And and what you can offer is you can say, like, do you think you're going to need help with staging and making your house look perfect before we come in and do the marketing? Like, are you going to need help with that? Or is that something that you feel confident in your own skill? And if somebody says, I love my dusty rose Victorian furniture, or, you know, maybe if that's the style of house, then it fits in perfectly. But maybe they have those old crazy orange Chesterfields from the 1960s or whatever, those psychedelic colors. If those are the colors that they love, you could say, okay, I get it. But, you know, there are some things that we can do to attract buyers, and buyers are visual. They're going to come in and they're going to have a look at your home. And maybe there are some things that you can do to improve that visual look. And if they're not willing to listen to that or see that, then you're just going to say, well, we have to just look at things through the eyes of a buyer. That's really what we are now. You're going to take a break from it being your house filled with your memories, and it's a product that buyers are looking to buy. So we have to look at it through their eyes. Has anyone have any examples of things they've had any success with, or things that they've learned not to say?
One thing I'll add is, the other thing is, from the seller's perspective, is not to forget that they know every imperfection. And I've known so many people they're like, oh my God, I have to fix this. I have to do this. And a lot of it's just like, no, you don't. You didn't see it when you first moved in. You won't see it when the buyers come in either. Like there's certain things that I just, yeah.
They get too picky on. Yeah. What would you say would be the most important thing in a house?
Cleanliness.
Smell and cleanliness.
Smell and cleanliness comes down to those senses, right? The smell, the sight. I wouldn't say taste, but that's gross. But does the house smell good? That's another thing you can talk about with your sellers. You can say that some people are very sensitive. They're very sensitive to smells. They're sensitive to sounds. All of that kind of stuff. If your home smells clean and you've got one of those beautiful aromatherapy things going or whatever, and it smells like an Avita spa, like that will be memorable for those potential buyers. They're going to come in, they're going to say, this house is clean, which means it's looked after. It smells good, which means that somebody cares. Everything's put away, which means that they're considerate of, us wanting to see their whole home. So just those kinds of things you can share with your sellers. And again, if you're coming off, or if you're coming up against a seller who doesn't care about those things, then you are going to be challenged. You're going to be challenged in trying to get your message across so that you can get the most amount of money for the house. But if your seller is not cooperating with you on that, it's going to be really, really challenging. And the only thing you can do is practice your scripts. Practice it and keep practicing it, and hopefully give a couple of examples. And again, right here, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, some of the things you can control during the selling process are the conditions of your property, the availability for showings, and your positioning on the market. So, when we're talking about the condition of your home, we can say, like, these are things that are within our control. If you are not prepared to do these things, can I help you with these things? Can I help connect you with my cleaning professional? Or can I help you connect you with my staging professional? Do you think that would be something that would be worthwhile to get the most money out of the sale of your home? Because remember, you need the funds from this house to buy that cottage on the lake that you love so much. So you're going to keep connecting their purpose and their motivation for selling to the reason why they have to do all this work to get started.
So it's like a 411. I mean,
so does anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
I just have a comment, Charlotte.
Sure.
I went to a listing appointment this morning.
Yes.
And the townhouse was impeccable. I mean, she's just spent the last 2 months cleaning out from her mom who passed away, but they've done a great job. And she was thinking of, there's 2 mirrors in the bedrooms, and she was going to take them off the wall, and she was going to do all this extra work. And I suggested to her that she didn't really need to do that, because if she took these big mirrors off the wall, then she was going to have holes in the wall and would have to patch them. They don't have the paint, that have to go and get new paint. So I just, suggested to her, don't make extra work. You've done so much already to have it look so great, and it'll look even better when we come to take photos in a couple of weeks, that just leave the mirrors there, because the new owners can take them off and then they can deal with it. So sometimes the owners can want to do maybe too much, but sometimes you maybe just have to say, you don't really need to do all that, because, just focus on the other things and you'll be fine.
For sure. And the other thing on top of that is you can say, these mirrors are beautiful. They're in great shape. They're not cracked. They may not be somebody's style, but as long as they're clean, as long as the mirrors are clean, then you're golden. Leave them where they are and focus on another area that you can do something quickly. Or maybe the place is, like you said, it's perfect and ready to go. Because you never know, somebody might come along and love those mirrors and say, I've always wanted to have a big wall of mirrors to get dressed in front of or something, get ready for the day. But as long as the mirrors are clean, and which sounds like they probably are. Anybody else have anything else they'd like to share? No? Okay.
So what if you have the perfect listing presentation? You've given them all the data and they've chosen a price. They've worked really hard to do the sweat equity to get their home into that tip-top shape. And you put it to market and your plan has failed and you have no inquiries. What happens?
Okay. So when you have presented the data, like you said, you've got all kinds of comparables to support the range that you think it should be in. And then your client says, well, 475 is not enough. We want to sell it for 525. And you say, okay, let's go for it. Because at the end of the day, guys, we need these listings. Listings create more business. Listings create buyers. You're going to pick up buyers, or you're going to have conversations with other realtors, and you're going to use that listing to promote yourself within that neighborhood and other neighborhoods. So you need this listing. But what you're going to say is, you and I we're not in the same range for price, but I understand your motivation to sell. And what I'd like to do for you is I'd like to set up a plan that we agree upon right here, right now, to sell your home and to get you into that lakefront house that you want so much. And the plan to sell your home is, we'll list it at 525. But based on the days on market right now for homes in that price point, which of course you're going to have because you are a professional realtor and you've done all that research, you're going to say, we're going to give 7 days. There's no reason to give any more than that, because a house right now should be under contract in 7 days if it's priced right. If it's not priced right, after 7 days, we're going to agree right here, right now, to drop it to $499 or whatever that next kind of point is, or whatever number you say. Like if you want it to be $475 and they want it to be $525, well, $525 isn't going to work. We're going to agree after 7 days that $499 is going to be the new number. And then I'm going to remarket it. And if we don't have something within 3 or 4 days after that, then we're going to have another conversation about where the number needs to be. And but say to them, but if you can follow along with how many days we're adding up here, we're doing 7, then we're doing another 7 and, or another 4 or 5 or whatever. Before we know it, we're going to be at 20 days on market. And 20 days on market is the average. Right now it's 16 in St. John from the day it goes on the market to the day that it is a firm sale. 16 is the average. So if we're at 20 days, we're already above the days on market for right now. And I want you to sell your house. So it's really important for us to be in a partnership here to make sure that we move this property for you. If you want to start at 525, I will do that because I want to sell your house. But I also need a plan B on what we do if that doesn't happen. Do you agree with me that this is a strategy we can follow? And then that's what you're going to, and 10 times out of 10, they're going to say yes. Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Of course.
Yeah.
I was looking at that.
Yeah.
I was kind of looking at your question, Paul. I read listened to your question differently, so I'll just re-ask it, but in a different way, the way that I thought. What happens if you go in there, they agree to everything, you got your presentation, everything's good, you go up there, and then 2 weeks later, you still don't have a hit? How do you go in and explain to them, like, okay, right? Because now at that moment, that's on you. Like something happened there. It wasn't listed right, something like, so how do you deal with that?
So that's a great question. And I guess at the end of the day, we're going to go back to the things we can control and the things we can't control. So we feel like we felt like our price was correct. The condition of the house is great. You've done a wonderful job with your marketing. The videos and the pictures look great. You've done some neighborhood tours yourself with, you know, showing people on social media this beautiful listing. You've had great communications with all of your fellow colleagues, your fellow realtors, to try and get them to bring a buyer. We still don't have a buyer. You need to have great feedback as to why you're not getting an offer. So what is it about the house? Because there's something going on. There's an objection, a buyer's objection that we just aren't getting over. Is there a 100-foot cell phone tower in the backyard? Is there something like that that we can't, you know, we can't get past? And really, when it comes down to it, if we've done everything else right, if the presentation on social media and on Realtor and on the internet is great, the conditions perfect, then it always comes down to price. It always comes down to price. And you're just going to say that to your client. You know, maybe you're not going to say maybe my comparables were wrong. You're not going to say that. You're just going to say, we can't control the market. We do not determine the value of your house. The open market determines the value of your house. And for whatever reason, if you're not getting good enough feedback from agents, ask for better feedback. Call them up and say, I need you to tell me what it is your clients thought about my seller's house. Does it stink? Do they not like the neighbor? You know, are there too many DIYs? Like, you need to have that really, really specific feedback so that you can, so you're armed with it. So you can have those conversations with your seller. Does that make any sense? Yeah. Okay. All right. There's also the other thing that you can say, Paul, and for everybody else, when you're talking about pricing the house properly, I know you've heard this a million times, but you're going to say, you know, the most activity is going to come in those first crucial 48 hours, especially right now. So there's going to be some strategy behind when we list and why we list then. So you need to, first of all, you need to be connected to the neighborhood. You need to make sure that if you were scheduled to put this new listing, you've worked so hard on it, everything looks fabulous, and the next door neighbor puts their house for sale, guess what? You're not listing it. You're waiting. You're waiting a week, you're waiting 10 days maybe, because you don't want to be in competition with an exact replica of your house. It's going to drive the prices down on both of your homes. So you need to be very strategic of when you do that. And so that means staying current. Now, the way you're going to do that, perhaps, and this is, you can't always know what people are doing, but if you have a new listing and you've got it all signed and you're ready to go and you're doing the marketing, you should be in that neighborhood connecting with those neighbors. You should be doing coming soons. You should be talking with them out in their driveways and giving them, you know, come pick your neighbor. Who would you like your neighbor to be? This house is coming up for sale next week. Like, you need to have those conversations. And when you're doing that, you're going to learn what the activities are on the street. You're going to find out whether or not his next door neighbor's house is going for sale as well. Like, that's information that you need to come with because that's important for your strategy of when you list. There's back and forth in terms of when you put the house on the market. Do you do it on a Friday and have showings all weekend long? Do you do it on a Monday and have showings all week long? Realtors, I think, would say, put it on a Monday. I want the weekend off. Like, there's that. But what do you guys think? What do you think is the best strategy?
Thursday.
Why do you say Thursday?
Gives them a day to look at it, a day to talk about it, and then they can set the appointment for the weekend.
Interesting. Yeah.
And with our team at Roberts Realty, we just had a chat about this earlier in the week that we're going to try Monday, Tuesday, especially in the market, and with the season coming up, that aggressively the first few days of the week, get offers, present the offers to the seller, and have the weekend off.
Yep.
Or less time on the weekend. I mean, I think if people are looking for homes, They don't care when it comes on the market. If it's the right house, they're gonna go see it. They'll make it happen.
True, true. Yeah. If you're in a position where you have maybe a couple listings coming on a week, I know we're all new. I consider myself new as well. I don't have very many listings. I work primarily with buyers right now. So I'm in the same boat as everybody else. I just have a couple of more years experience. But you know, if you were in a position where you had a couple of listings a week coming on, probably just for your business wise, you're going to want to stagger those a little bit. But we'll get there. It's going to take a while. I'm just happy with one listing. I have a few listings, but not as many as some, you know, big teams have that have, you know, constant stuff going on. So yeah, the strategy to when to list is also very, very important. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So one thing that you have to really be okay with, and this takes a long time because you want that listing so bad, you have to be professionally honest with your sellers. That's really important. You have to, and the honesty comes from a place of research. So you're coming from a place of honesty, but it's because you've done your research. You are well aware of the insides of the competition, the homes that are the competition, what has sold, what's pending, all that. So you feel really confident with what you're saying. You're always going to have a little bit of doubt in your head about, you know, are they going to listen to me? Are they going to trust me? Is the number I'm giving them or the range I'm giving them, is it good? Am I leaving any money on the table? And say those things to them. Say, you know, pricing a home is the most important thing we do. It really is. Pricing it is the most important thing we do. We don't want to leave any money on the table. We want to make sure that you're getting as many dollars as you possibly can. And say, so I'm just being very, very honest with you in everything I'm telling you. I want you to have as much success as possible, because when you're successful, I feel successful. And that's where great partnerships come from. Anybody have any questions? Anything they'd like to talk about? Has anyone done a CMA yet? Yes?
I'm trying to, but I keep messing it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done 3.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right.
2 of them are coming to listings, so I'm happy with that, but just not yet.
All right. So when you're pulling together a CMA, and with Paragon in Nova Scotia, I'm sure you do it through that system as well. Is that correct? Okay. All right. Same thing, New Brunswick, it's through the matrix system. And when you're looking for a house or comparables, if I am listing a 2-story house, and that's the house that I'm focused on, am I going to use ranch bungalows as comparables?
I might ask you to pause, Charlotte. It's because, you know, for that example, what if you've never even seen the house? You know, what do you might want to do that research of, you know, going before you set a CMA, you know, how does that process go to say, hey, okay, I'm thinking about selling my house. What's it like? Oh, it's, you know, 2,000 square feet. You know, what's those inquiry questions before you even get to those comparables, right? Okay,
let's take a step back then. Chances are you're not going to be inside the house before you're asked to do a CMA. And you also don't want to lose the opportunity to get in front of them and to get a listing signed by saying, I'm going to go back home and do a CMA and come back and see you. So it's kind of a catch-22. You need to do a little bit of kind of blind research almost. If you've got a 2-story house in a popular family neighborhood, then chances are you should focus on, first of all, on the homes in that neighborhood that have sold. They should be in your CMA, even if they're not exactly the same 2-story, 4 bedrooms up, like that kind of thing, because the neighborhood is really important, like what has sold in the neighborhood. And then you really want to start talking, you want to look at the number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and does it have a garage? Like those kinds of things are really important when you're doing a good CMA, a good comparable. And you're also going to use your kind of Service New Brunswick, Service Nova Scotia as another tool. I know the assessments aren't always accurate. They're usually either undervalued or overvalued or whatever. But it just gives you a sense of what the homes in the neighborhood are all assessed at, right? And if you have homes that are all assessed at 400,000, and over the last 5 years, 4 of those 10 houses have sold for $450,000, well, you know that the house needs to be priced over its assessment value, right? Like that's just one kind of like little indicator to give you a hint. Yep.
Where are we going to get the assessment values? Where did you say that?
Yep. So in New Brunswick, you can go on Service New Brunswick.
Okay.
And
I think here in Halifax, if you go to Explore HRM, you can click on each property and it says what
Correct.
it might be assessed at. Okay.
Yep. So that's just one of your tools in your toolbox, right? Like Matrix or Paragon, whatever connects to realtor.ca and gives you those solds and pendings. That's important. Your assessment tools are important. And then of course, just being inside those houses and getting a sense for what they sell for, also really important.
What about like square footage? Would people know I live in this, would that also be as important as like the bedrooms and bathrooms, and that'd be another question you'd want to know right away?
Definitely the square footage will be important there. It's not in our area, and depending on the type of home you're doing a CMA for, some people might say, oh, let's do it based on square footage. It's not, unless you're dealing with like condominiums or you're dealing with all new builds in the same area, like a new neighborhood, using square footage to determine your sale price is more of a Western Canadian kind of Ontario type way of doing things. Here, we really just do it on comparable homes that have sold and what they sold for.
Okay.
Now, whether or not we start to get towards that whole square footage thing, we'll see. But the square footage of a family home would certainly be important as a comparable.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah. The other thing would be like, does it have a finished basement? I'm just thinking family homes. Like this is just, does it have a finished basement? That would be a good comparable thing on a list to make sure you have that to compare A to B or whatever. And then of course, if it isn't a family neighborhood, you're looking for what's the street like. That's more of a kind of tangible thing. It's more of a like, what's the feeling of the neighborhood? So when you do that comparable and you have those, you can have a look at the houses that as they kind of, because the system will generate the CMA for you once you kind of pick your listings that you want to compare to your house. And then you can get a sense of whether or not you have enough. Do you need to go searching in other neighborhoods to add more homes into your CMA? And as long as you're aiming for that 5, 5, and 5, I really like that number. I think that's a great way to go about it because that gives you a lot of good data. And data is what you need for sure. And then you're going to say, okay, this is great. Here's my CMA. Print it off. And this is kind of where we get into the kind of like the weeds of being in business. Do you print it off in color? Do you print it off in black and white? I would say that if you're going to a listing presentation, print it off in color. And, yesterday I had to, fire up the old color printer, and I hadn't done that in a year because everything's been, kind of digital and all that kind of stuff. And I've certainly had listings in the last year, but I haven't had to do, kind of a CMA on printed paper for them. But I went to Staples and bought those stupid toners and put it in, and I hate, it just drives you crazy. Now, the other alternative is that you would have like a tablet, perhaps, and you use that to show your CMA, and you kind of flip it around and say, okay, here's this, you kind of zoom in to be able to show that kind of stuff. And if that's the tactic you want to use, then you'll save yourself money on toner, that's for sure. Yes, Dennis.
We had a little course there for our Paragon down here in Nova Scotia yesterday, and the guy that was teaching that one said you could take your laptop and an HDMI cable, and if they have a good size screen TV, plug it right in and do it there. And
I
was
have
like,
a remote
"Oh,
control
that's
for my laptop, so I can do just that.
Yeah.
So that I can stand back and put it to their big screen TV and do a presentation that way.
That's great. That's great. And that can be something that you can, those are kind of the nitty gritty kind of nuts and bolts of going on a listing presentation. You could say like, how would you like me to present this information to you? Would you like me to print it off, bring a printed CMA? Would you like to, do you have a smart TV? Can I link to your home television? And if they say yes, then perfect. There you go. You save yourself the toner. There you go. That's perfect. The nice thing about sitting down at a table with your sellers is that you've got them across the table from you. You have a good eye, you can see them, you can show them things. And so just something to keep in mind, just for kind of like body positioning and all that kind of stuff when you're selling yourself. Let me see here. So in terms of an action plan, moving forward, do you like the My Tracker, like that little tracker of numbers? Is that kind of a useful tool to you? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So,
to keep the 10-4 going. Yep.
Yep. And, after I'm done here today with you guys, I'm going to get back to work on that myself. I've got those notes ready to go. But I haven't hit 10. Do I write 7 more or 6 more? Maybe I don't get 6, but maybe I write another one or another 2 and, track it on there. But that's one thing. To move forward, practicing doing CMAs. What ideas do you think you can come up with to practice doing a CMA? Like, what could you do?
Just go to neighbors and friends' house and do a CMA, or if you're going to do walk a neighborhood, you can actually come with a CMA of a certain person's house.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. I have kind of a warm lead. It's a friend of my sister's, and I've been sending her waterfront properties for the last 3 years. She's like, nah, whatever. But I said to her, can I come do a CMA on your house? And she said, really? I said, yeah. I said, it's great practice for me. It's part of my professional development. You have to drive yourself to do your own professional development, right? So I said, it's great practice. It gives me a good idea of what your house is like. I know you've told me the things you've done to it, but if I could come and do a CMA, it's great practice. And then I know I have you kind of in my back pocket as a potential listing, which would be fantastic if I find you the property you like. But also, it helps me let you know where you stand, like where you stand in the current market. And if all of a sudden you come back with a CMA and you say, listen, I really think you could get between like 325 and 350, and they thought they could only get 275, that's really going to kind of excite them and say, okay, maybe this is the time we do this. So yeah, ask your friends and family if you can do a CMA on their house. Ask your neighbors, like do whatever, and just say like, listen, that you're doing me a favor. You're helping me improve my skill set. And I would really love to come do a CMA on your house.
Thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate that. I have done that with a friend recently, and I've been sending her comparable properties which have sold and are on the market along with prices the past few months, and she's actually getting ready to list, I believe.
Good.
So she was happy to see it.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Practicing your scripts when it comes to pricing and objections. And so, through the Ignite program, you have access to scripts through those books, and practicing those by yourself, practicing with a partner, really excellent. And getting your own wording written into the way that you share a message. So, you know, taking a script, kind of ripping it apart and adding your own language and the way that you come across, and because you want your voice in these scripts. They're just a guide, right? They're just showing you here's how to share a message. You take that message and you say, here's how I speak. This is the way that I communicate. So I'm going to remove some of these fancy words and I'm going to say, you know, this is super cute. You know, like if those are the kinds of words you use, then add that in because that's your language and you want to sound as genuine and authentic as possible when you're talking. So sharing your scripts or practicing your scripts, definitely important. And I practiced all day yesterday. Practiced scripts all day yesterday for that listing presentation last night. And when I went there, I felt ready to go, ready to, you know, hold my position in terms of what my professional opinion was on the range. And, you know, that was it. The other thing that you're going to come up against when you're pricing is you're going to talk about your brokerage fee. And that is probably going to be the one thing that you're really going to get pushed back on, because people will say, well, I need to price my house high enough so that I can cover your realtor fee. Like that's what they're going to say, you know, like okay, yeah, I'd love to sell it for 400,000, but you know, I got to pay you 15 grand, like, or you and the other seller, whatever the commission is. And say, yep, absolutely. That is definitely part of the market. It is part of you know, selling homes and bringing buyers to buy homes. Being a part of realtor.ca right now is the best way to sell your house. It's you want to aim for at least 5 or 6 offers so that you can get the most amount of money. But if you price it properly, you're probably at this point, you're probably going to get over asking. I can't guarantee it because I don't have a magic 8 ball for that. But if we price the house properly based on this data, you won't have to worry about that commission because you're going to be so happy with the money that's in your pocket and so happy with the work that I've done for you and the great relationship that I have with the realtor who brought you a qualified buyer who was able to firm up their conditions quickly. This commission or this brokerage fee to sell your home is not going to be as daunting to you as it is right now around the table. And so practicing those scripts and getting your message across well and without kind of like bumbling over words, it comes with practice. And you have to practice. You don't want to practice these things on your clients. You want to practice those things before you get in front of them. And that just shows your professionalism. And I know scripts are kind of funny, but it'll be good. Yes, Jen.
It's gone. That's how quick that happens. It will come back. I got stage fright.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Has anyone had any exceptions come up or objections come up to them about the brokerage fee?
That's what I was going to ask. That was what I was going to. So I was going to ask: is there a document already prepared to say here's why, here's where the commission goes? Because we all know, there's a lot of upfront costs. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of membership dues. The NSAR, obviously, who would have known that they're keeping an eye out for the best highways, or there's a lot of things that we do as a realtor, as association, and that we help with society. There's a lot of extra expenses, marketing, photos. Yep. So talking about the YKW or like why have an agent, is there any documents anywhere that has all those bullet points?
So that's a fantastic question. And when I watched the Ben Kinney listing presentation on YouTube, he actually has, so he's American, and he had a great kind of, as part of his listing presentation, he had a great slide. He charges 6%. And he said the reason, he goes, here's my fee to sell your home. And he had 6 $1 bills on this PowerPoint. And he said, 3%, 3 of these dollars are going to the agent who's bringing you a qualified buyer. So the next slide showed those $3 leaving the slide, which left $3 more. And he said, so I've got $3 left here. He said, one of these dollars goes to my brokerage house. And so that dollar slid off, and he said, and that's the same for every realtor. That
Right.
$1 goes to who we work for, and that doesn't change no matter who you list with.
Right.
So that leaves $2 here. And of that $2, I need to market your home. I need to pay for Facebook, Google ads, this, that, whatever. Put your, listing in the newspaper if that's something that people, do, if it's part of their marketing plan. And so that dollar is now gone. Because
Right.
really, I mean, that's essentially what we're doing. And in that $1 where it's marketing and all that kind of stuff, you're going to say, like, this is just the cost of doing business as a realtor. And lumped in there will be marketing, our fees, insurance, errors and omission, like all that kind of stuff. So you're just going to say, this is my cost of doing business. And at the end of the day, I have this $1 left. And so you're saying, like, I feel as though I am a professional and I'm very good at what I do. And we're going to have a great working relationship here. And I'm going to work for this dollar harder than any other realtor is going to work for this dollar to sell
Right.
your house.
I love that.
And yeah. And I thought that was a really great visual. And it made me feel empowered when I went last night and explained, our commission and try not to use the word commission as well. Like I'm trying to get out of that, and call it a brokerage fee.
Yeah, because I think it's about educating, because we've all said it, maybe, right? Like, I've sold my house privately because I didn't want to pay. I just gave them the discount so we can make it work. So I think it's about just educating the public about that and having that in case, in your pocket, in case it's something you need to discuss, because I think that would be the biggest objection, I would guess. Where do I get that? Who did you say, where would I find that?
Yeah, so just Google Ben Kinney, and his name is Kinney.
Is it what you sent us, Charlotte?
Yep.
I'm going to share it right here in the chat.
Good. Thanks.
Great.
Awesome.
It's a 45-minute YouTube video, but it's some guy at a KW conference, like Mega Camp or something like that, sitting with his iPhone, like recording the screen. And so you can hear people laughing. It's not professional, but you hear his message. And those slides with the 6 $1 bills, and then it goes away and it goes away, it goes away. Like, it really does kind of break it down. And you have to also say, like, this is my profession. This is how I feed my family. This is how I pay my bills. This is what we do for a living. So this is my professional fee.
I think
Charlotte, this morning
go ahead, Ken.
at listing meeting, it was a long meeting. She was very long-winded. It was an hour and a half, but it was worth it because I ended up getting the listing in the end. But when we were sitting, so when we were sitting, going through the paperwork after we looked through the whole house, and I had my presentation folder, she'd come up, I had the listing agreement right there and I prepared it before I went with the 5% right in there. And then the 2.5% for the buyer's agents. So she said, so what would your commission be? And I changed up the verbiage just like you did, Charlotte. And I'm trying to do that too, to change it from commission to my brokerage fee. And right there on the listing agreement where it said 5%, I said, we're standard 5%. I said, some other brokerages maybe charge 5 to 7, and you'll find maybe some others may do it a little bit less to get the listing. I said, but our team at Roberts Realty and with Keller Williams do our utmost to really, showcase your home, do everything that we can through social media and whatnot. And I did say that, the 2.5% actually goes to the buyer's agent that brings the buyer to buy the home. And she was totally cool with it. Like she figured it was about 5%, but she had heard that there was 5 to 7, and there was really no question because she called me as a referral from one of my buyers. And so she hasn't sold the home in a long time, but she certainly knew that that was part of the, she's paying her fee. And when we were coming up, she mentioned a couple of times that there have been a couple of mice and they've got traps around, that kind of thing. And we said, if it was a really bad scenario, you would call in the professionals, just like you've called in me to help you sell your home, kind of thing. So we kind of use that in the conversation, that you hire professionals to do the job that you need them to do, because that's not your forte.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
I forget what the stats are, but there is a stat that, you know, it's like the 80-20, 10%, you're never going to get asked about the commission or compensation. 10%, you're, you know, whatever, let's call it 60-40. So 60% of the people, they're never going to ask. If they know it's standard, they want to sell their home. The 20% are going, that's the ones you have to worry about. And that strategy is called reduction to the ridiculous. So when you go from $6 or $5 down to $1, right in front of your client's eyes, they say, I wouldn't be doing it for less than $1. Of course, I'm going to give you the $1, right? Or if you go higher, it's use that a lot. Look up that strategy, reduction to the ridiculous, because that'll help you handling objections.
Right, right. In Ben Kinney's presentation, he handled the objection of, well, why would I pay you a 6% fee if I could pay somebody a 5% fee or 4 or whatever? And his reply to that, which I thought was genius, was it said, when it came down to that listing agent selling at 2.5% or whatever, and 0.5 goes to the broker and 1% goes to whatever, you know, will that agent choose to spend that 1% on marketing your home, or will they choose that 1% to feed their family? And you know, so like, are you going to get the same service and the same, you know, the same quality of work from that agent at a lower commission? Are they going to put that same amount of money in that I'm going to put into marketing your home? Or are they going to feed their family? Now, it was a little bit of a dramatic turn, but I thought it was interesting. Like it's worth having a look at. And anyway, but then the final part of all of this is closing the deal. You've made it through. You've priced it. You've agreed. They are on board with your fantastic marketing plan that's going to come out. You've got this great video guy, and your camera's ready to go, and you've got all this great ideas of how you're going to sell this property. I would recommend that every time you go to a listing presentation, you have a paper listing agreement with you. Because if you can say, so we've done all of this great work. So far, we are an awesome partnership. I can't wait to keep working with you. The last thing that we have on our to-do list tonight is to get this contract signed. So can I bring out this contract right here, right now? Can we sign this tonight and decide when we're going to put your home on the market? Can we do that tonight? And you have that piece of paper out there. And if they say, well, we're not quite ready. Now, I knew ahead of time last night that I was competing for that listing. And I knew that there was an agent there Monday night. I was there last night, and I knew they were interviewing tonight. And so I knew, I just didn't even bother with that question because I already knew the answer to it. So, but if someone a little bolder than me might say, is there anything else other than interviewing that agent tomorrow night that's preventing you from listing with me today? Is there any other reason? And if the answer is no, then you would say, well, let's go. Let's sign the agreement right now, because I'll look after contacting that agent tomorrow night. Now, I've never done that. I've never done that. And that's a bit of a baller move, honestly. Like if you can say, I'm going to call Dennis myself and let him know that your Wednesday night just freed up, big guy. I got it. Like that is a bold thing.
If you had have listened to Colin, the shock on his face would have been awesome to see today.
Right.
Charlotte, what about those working relationships with other realtors?
So then you need to weigh out whether or not it's how that's going to go, because that's going to leave a bit of a sting. But at the end of the day, you know, we really are trying to get those listings. That really is what's going to propel your business. It's going to give you that experience. Listings are hard to get. They're easy to have, right? Because the buyer's agents are coming to you. They're the ones that are doing the work all you're doing, I'm not saying all you're doing, but you're coordinating the showings, you're figuring all that out. But really at the end of the day, you're just waiting for those offers to come. You're just waiting. And so in terms of workload, it's definitely what you want to help you. And it's yours to market, right? That's your listing, and you need to promote yourself as much as you possibly can with it. So that's why it's so important to get them. One more thing I'll say is part of that video that I was watching, and if you look through the mission for today, there is a video on there. If you scroll down, mission number 5, so it shows you all the things that you're supposed to work on. Obviously, this is paper, but on your on that Ignite website where it shows the missions, there's a link to the video. It's Gary Keller. It's Watch Mega Camp 2014 Sellers, and it shows that woman, talks about staging. Then it talks about another mega agent, and he said that he did a 90 listings in 90 days challenge for himself. And he said it was wild. He called every single FSBO, every expired, everything he could possibly do to get 90 listings in 90 days. It sounds bonkers to me. It really does. But what he did was he achieved 85 listings. Like, he almost got it. But he said the activities and the actions that he did in that very first challenge, and he's now sold that as he's a MAPS coach now. He's now sold that as a strategy. If you follow these steps, this will transform your business. And so, of course, by doing that, getting those 85 or 90 listings in 90 days, he changed the way that he did his business. And he didn't leave that, he didn't leave the office that day until he got a listing appointment. And so it was really, I don't see the links on the Ignite page. Okay, hold on a second.
It's the little black arrow. Just click that little black arrow.
Yeah. Let's see if I can bring it up here. What am I looking for? Ignite.
So on average, how many agents does somebody typically have in? Do they interview usually more than one, or is it usually, on average?
That's a great question. So like I said, I have had lots of listings, but I've been the only person that's gone. Like I've gone to meet with them and had the listing. So it was fantastic. So last night for me, I knew I was competing with 2 other agents, and there are lots of people who say we're going to interview 3 agents or we're going to interview 2. And it's always great to know who those agents are. Yeah. I know who one of them was, and but I don't know who the third one is. So this page here, this is the KW Connect /page/Ignite student. These are all the sessions. And has everyone been on this page for part of this course? Okay, so this is where everything is. So right now we're in Power Session 5, Price to Sell. And then Power Session 6 is on Friday, I believe. And so at the end of today, on our mission, we're going to have these activities. I'm just going to move this over here. We're going to have these activities as part of your mission to prepare for number 6. So prepare for the listing appointment. So that's that. Follow up with the power from the previous power session. Track your information on your tracker for this day or these couple of days, and then you will be so this is to attend session 5. Hold on, let me go back a second. So you're going to go to Power Mission for number 6. So complete this mission prior to attending Ignite Power Session 6. And again, you're doing the daily 10-4, you're using your tracker, you're writing the notes. If you don't have notes, go to your drugstore and just buy one of those packs of whatever, get yourself some stamps, figure out who you're going to write some things to. I thought about like one of these notes that I wrote today is to a gentleman who I know is elderly. My kids were mowing his lawn last year, and I'm going to send him a note to say, like, how are you doing? Would you think about selling your home? Is now a time that you'd like to make a move? He was talking about maybe wanting to go into a garden home. Like, is now the time you'd like to do that? Because homes are really selling. You could get the most out of your home. You've lived there for 40 years. This would be the time to sell it, you know? Extend your learning, practice your scripts with a partner, gather your tools. So this is for Friday morning. And then it says, work the listing. These are the things that they want you to do. I'm not sure what KWLS syndication, create or enter a listing. Oh, they're showing, you know, practice entering a listing. This is all American stuff, I think.
That's where you can click that black little button there and it'll play a video.
So these are the videos you can watch. Yes.
With that, connect to your KWLS syndication. I just did that this morning.
Okay.
And if you look back at David Whalen's slides from maybe, I'm going to say 3 weeks ago, for a few weeks prior to that, from our Tuesday or Friday morning calls, he's got the link in there. And basically you take one of your current listings and you sync it up to your Keller Williams, I think, through command.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yep.
You send it to support at KW.
Right, that one.
Copy
Yep.
date. And so I just did that this morning with the listing that I have currently. So, and
Great.
that will go forward for all of your listings. So
Sure. So that when you're pulling together, doing designs and things through command, it will pull your listings.
I think so. I don't know the full extent of what it will do once we do it, but I've been waiting to do that. So.
Again, this is really like overwhelming to think about how these systems all talk to one another and where do you do this and where do you read that and all that kind of stuff. But basically, you know, in preparation for the next course, you know, these are the things that they would like you to do. And then, you know, but again, it's the 10-4, it's that daily lead generating that you're going to do to try and move your business forward, because that's what you're doing. We're building our business. We're moving it forward day by day, little bit at a time, and we're supporting that growth with professionalism. We're teaching ourselves and figuring out how to use Paragon, Matrix, how to do a proper CMA so that, you know, we sound professional and we are professional. And because you can fake it till you make it with a lot of stuff, but you can't fake it with pricing. You really have to know your product and be able to, you know, back that up. The last thing I want to, so Power Session Manual 5. So when you go through this whole thing here, at the very end, it talks about, these are the scripts for this session 5 that we're doing today: pricing objections, CMA scripts, enhance your learning, things you can do to enhance your learning, from ahas to achievements. So that's something we can talk about. Recall and remember what's the most important to properly price a home and sell. What are the 4 factors that drive a price? So, you know, the 4 factors are price, location, location, condition, oh my gosh, market conditions, and inventory, right? And whatever else we can, let's see here. Prepare for next class. So in terms of moving forward, these are the things that you can do there. That's what we read, putting it all together. So from today, these are the things that your action plan, preparing for next class. Anyway, but this is just a great way to kind of recall what we've talked about and to make sure that you're so exhausting and overwhelming at first. And but that's why we have each other to lean on and to share our ideas with. And that's why communities within our own company are so important like this. So you know you have people to turn to. Does anybody have any ahas from today? No, you're all set.
But it's been great, Charlotte. It's been great.
I had
No, everybody. Okay.
I had one of my agents there, the last place that we sold, and like personally before I became an agent, and I had two people coming in. She came in, and instead of giving me all the paperwork for the CMA that day, she came through, took notes, left, and then came back the next day because the guy at night was going to be coming in, and so she had to come back a second time, but to give me my proper CMA. So which was nice, and we ended up going with her instead anyway.
Okay.
So
There's something.
she was in first. She was in first, but she was also back last. So, and I got to see her twice. So,
Okay.
yeah, picking her.
So her follow-up was quick and accurate.
It was more accurate than anybody else's because no one else came through to walk through the house, right? To see what changes have been done. They just took what the old listing was and compared it to that.
Oh well, then just the extra effort alone would be the reason why you'd go. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to share, because that's a best practice that we can all, hopefully take on. Doing a CMA from an old listing without going to that house and, giving them a proper range, because they could have done $100,000 worth of improvements,
And that's just it, right? So, but at the same time, it also gave her the second opportunity to come back. So first in, but also last out too, technically, right?
Right.
But yeah, she came back in, took the notes down, and I actually said, like, you don't have anything prepared? She goes, can't. I haven't seen your house yet. I'll come back tomorrow. I said, okay. But when she came back, she goes, here's your price ranges, and that's it. And I'm like, what if I want to be up here? She goes, this is your price ranges. These are your three choices. Pick one.
And what was her reason for giving you that range?
Because of the way the market was, right? She was just being honest, but she also knew, like, I opened up to her. I told her what happened. She knew the guy that I just fired. We only had him for a week and we fired him. And then, so she kind of knew all that. She goes, this is where we are. This is the reason why. Like, she laid it all out. This is what we do. Here's your three choices. And if you want to play higher than that, I'm not willing to take it on because of marketing. But okay, sounds good. Let's go. Yeah, she was good. I liked her.
I like it.
So I like that she went first to build the rapport. So then my next question is going to be, is that typically what people do? Like, go meet with the person? I mean, depends if they know them or not, but if they've been in the house, for the most part, usually it's you meet with the person, you get an idea of their house, and maybe do you then come back and do the CMA, or what are your thoughts on that? Because I like what Dennis said.
You can do that. I have done that, especially if it's a more unique home. If it's a home that kind of is a custom designed house, or by itself out in the middle of somewhere, or just if it's just a unique property, it might be worth saying, listen, I have an idea. I know what your house is assessed at. I know what you paid for it. But what I don't know is I don't know what you've done to it since then. So before I give you a range, I'd really like to come and get to know your house and hear your home story, and find out really where we should price it, because I'm fearful that maybe I'm leaving some money on the table if I do it based on matrix or whatever. If you are dealing with a home in a subdivision and the homes are kind of all the same, then I would say go with a CMA with a lot of data, the 555, the sold, the pending, and the active. And then you can do the range from there. But yeah, I like that too, Dennis. That's good. I've definitely done it. You just have to make sure that your follow-up is quick, accurate, and professional.
A scenario that happened with me a couple of weeks ago, I was in a specific neighborhood, just putting cards in people's mailboxes. And by the time I even got back to my car, my cell phone rang, and this older gentleman called and said, hey, I got this card in the mail. Would you be interested in coming over to, give me an evaluation of my home? And I said, well, I'm actually literally walking on your street. I said, I have about 20 minutes. I said, would it be okay to drop back now? And he said, sure. So I went back, he gave me the full tour of the house, had a good chat with him. And again, being new and not really understanding what has sold in his area, I said, can I get back to you in a day or so? And I called him the next day and made an appointment and went back. So I was in the neighborhood on the Wednesday, did my research like the next day, and went back on the Thursday, or the Friday rather. And he's got about 2 or 3 months of work. He's just got all new windows put in, so he's got new trim to put up. And he said I'd be the first person that he'll call when it comes time to list. So, but I didn't feel comfortable just pulling a number out of my head to say, oh, well, I think it would be, we could sell it for this amount before I did my due diligence.
I like that, Kim. Yeah.
So
So many people ask that too, eh? So what do you think it's worth?
Yeah.
Let me get back to you. I got to do it, right?
Yep, exactly. It's the same as when you go to the doctor's office and there's something going on and you can't quite figure it out. They're not going to sit there right then and there and say, oh, you have a disease. It's called this. No, they're going to do tests. They're going to refer to their books. They're going to talk to their colleagues. They're going to do some research, and you appreciate that as a patient, because the last thing you want to hear is, oh, you've got this disease, and then you're worried and you feel terrible for a week, and then they call you back and say, nope, you're fine, just heartburn or whatever. So you can do that. Now I read this, I was saying this morning on this, I'm reading this book, Sell It Like Sirhan. So this guy is on HGTV, $1 Million Listing or whatever, but he's actually a very good realtor. And he says that it's the follow up, the follow through, and the follow back or whatever. And so Kim, the most important thing for you to do with that lead is to not lose touch with him and stay in touch with him, whether it's like just little things every week. If you have his phone number, if you have his email or whatever, so that you stay top of mind, so that in 3 months time, someone else hasn't gotten their, whatever into you. Because thinking that people are going to remember you is foolish. And it's arrogant on our parts, right? To think, well, I've made such an impact. They have a whole other life that they are living. They're busy. They've got stuff going on. They got families, they got COVID and jobs and all this kind of stuff. So it's our job to stay in their mindset. And,
the day that I was there, he shared with me that, he's going to be 72 next week. And I said, oh, when's your birthday? And he told me his date. So I followed up with him a few days before, I think. Anyway, on his birthday, I sent him a text, just happy birthday. And he's a widower. So when I actually went back with the CMAs and comparables, I took him some muffins. And so, I do plan to keep in touch with him. Just, how you doing? He's got a German Shepherd dog. And so I do plan to keep in touch with him for sure.
Yep, definitely. And really, our job is to sell homes. Our job is to inform our clients of what other homes sell for. So we can bring value in the sense of extra things like muffins and birthday cards. And those are all that will help create your relationship. But at the end of the day, we need to provide our clients with the data they need. And so if anything has sold in his neighborhood over the next few months, every time something sells, let him know. Every time something comes on the market, say this is on the market, it went into multiple offers. There were 7 offers and it sold for $25,000 over asking. Just want you to know what's going on in your neighborhood. And that way he'll be like, okay, my realtor is Kim. She's keeping me up to date with the real estate market. And she's also very kind and very considerate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good idea. Thank you. Yep.
Sirhan also has a YouTube channel as well.
Yes. Yeah. He's fun. I'm enjoying this book. It's a good read. It's interesting. It's kind of funny.
Okay, so I'll just share. Sorry, I had to cut out there because I got a call from a local woman in town, and she said that a neighbor of hers unfortunately passed away, but their daughter is just told them that they're looking to sell their house. Mm-hmm. How would I handle that delicately, knowing that their obituary was just written up in the paper today, what's the proper process of, I don't know them personally, do I take them something? What's, in your experience, what is the best way to, slide my foot in the door? Because, but doing it in a professional and a respectful way, obviously, because of the situation.
Sure. I would definitely do a face-to-face of some kind. And just a gesture of kindness and goodwill, and to say, just very sorry for your family's loss. I want you to know that during this time, when you're dealing with so many things that are far more important than whatever I'm here to talk to you about, just keep in the back of your mind that when the time does come and you do need some help, I'm here.
Right.
And if you need help with things like removal of extra junk, or removal of, see you later, removal of furniture, or places to donate clothes to, or families that might need some furniture. Like if you need those connections to be made, I can do that for you. I can make those connections for you. Maybe you have everything in the home already slated to go to family members or whatever. But if you need help in preparing the property, I can do that for you and make those connections. So just be a source of service and a source of information for them. And then naturally over time, and in there you can also say like, as you prepare the property, this is a little bit down the road, but say, how are you making out? How are things going? I just wanted to let you know that, the real estate in this area is going well and properties are selling well. And when the time comes, you should feel comfortable knowing that the property will sell for you, and just keep them up to date. Yeah.
If I could add to that, Charlotte and Paul, I struggled with that about 2 months ago, and Colin coached me through it because of an old family friend that I really haven't seen that much really in 40 years. His wife passed away in November, and I was wearing my realtor hat and had a card sitting here with his address on it, but I struggled on reaching out to him because I didn't want to seem inconsiderate. I'm just out for a listing. I want your house to sell. So I really struggled with it. And Colin coached me through it. He said, well, how about just send him a card just to express your sincere thoughts in the loss of his wife. And when I drive by an area where we used to all live when I was a kid, I always think of him and I always look at his house. And this was before his wife died. It's just part of when I drive to Hampton, I always drive through Newidgewok and always look at this particular house, in our old house for that matter. But so I just put in the card, that I was really sorry to hear about his wife. And, every time I drive by through Newidgewok, I think of, memories of when we all grew up there. And so he was a young father at the time when I was like about 10. And I put a couple of cards in and just said, I'm in a new career now and here's my cards. And he called me about, I forgot all about it. I mailed it because I felt okay. I mailed okay. I didn't sound like this, hungry realtor,
chaser.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So he called me out of the blue one morning and he was so touched. We were both so touched. I'm getting emotional talking about it right now because he said, I showed my kids who I grew up with. He said, I've told everybody about this card. He said, you can't imagine how sincere and how that touched my heart. And I was sitting here talking to him, like, thank goodness we were on the phone and he couldn't see me, like you can't see me now. But it was just such a, yeah, it was just, I felt so good about it because here I was struggling with how do I send this to him without sounding like that. And so he said, well, come out someday. He's got 40 acres. And he said, come on out someday. He said, I don't know what I'm going to do with those 40 acres. He said, but come on out someday. And I said, well, I have a new puppy. Maybe I'll bring my puppy and we'll walk the land with you someday. So I've got his right here, sitting right here on my desk, that now that the weather's here, I'm going to give him a call and just go out and visit him. But I struggle with that so much. And what an impact it made just by being genuine when I did send that card.
Yep. So Paul, take that
Totally.
lead on that one, and just do something personal and from the heart.
Sure. I agree.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that, Kim.
Yeah, that's great. Well, guys, it's 3:02, and you guys have been awesome. I hope we've shared some good information today and talked about the hard job of pricing homes. Again, like right now, you know, people can just put any number up, it seems like, and things will sell. But it's not always true. It's not always true. People are overpricing their homes, and the market is telling them as much. So it still really is important to do this job well and to make sure that your clients get the most money in their pockets in the least amount of time with the least amount of grief.
Thank you so much for taking your
Thank
time and
you,
sharing it with
Charlotte.
us.
You're very
Appreciate.
welcome.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay,
Charlotte.
everyone. Have a great day.
All right, see
Yeah.
ya. Bye.